Hey everyone, it's Carrie. Today's topic might be a little bit of a longer one, but it's something that really had a profound impact on my life, and that is swingers. I was a swinger at one point in time. Would I do it again? It's hard to say. Probably not, because I am at a point in my life where if by chance their love even exists on this earth, I would rather be in a monogamous relationship. To know that my partner is my best friend, my best sexual partner, my ally, there's loyalty, there's faithfulness. And granted, when you're a swinger, there is, your loyalty and your faithfulness is definitely tested. You have to be true to each other. The only reason I would say maybe is because sometimes it can spice things up, being with other people, but yet you're with each other. So it's an experience you're enjoying together. However, if you're joining me for my Bible series, you'll see we just recently covered Sodom and Gomorrah, and I'm pretty sure that swingers were a normal thing in Sodom and Gomorrah. So I don't, I'm struggling with the biblical part of would I really want to do that. I really think that deep down inside, I would want to be in a relationship where the person is happy with me, and we don't need to have other people in it, so we can grow old and die gracefully together. I think that's true love. I think that's a beautiful love. And you don't need all of that extra because you make each other happy. And that's more what I'd be looking for. So I'm swaying more towards I would never probably be a swinger again, but I've also learned in life never say never. Anyway, let me take you on a little bit of my journey and how I got there. First of all, I didn't really know what swingers were until I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, my mother, who I think was the only person in the world she could really be open with and talk to, and she sat me down and there was this magazine and there were these ads for couples, and I didn't quite understand it, so my mother sat down and said, well, me and your dad were thinking of trying to be swingers, of being with another couple, and what that all meant. I was like, okay, well, that's weird. I remember that being the one and only conversation. I wasn't going to bring it up again because I was like, what? You're going to have sex with somebody else and dad's going to have sex with somebody else and you're both okay with that? Up until that point, which I was probably 14 or 15 at the time, I just thought people were supposed to be together, even though I knew my father had been with many other women and my mom didn't like it. It took a while for me to grasp the concept that it was okay for both of them to do that as long as they were both aware of it. So keep in mind, this is a lot for a 14, 15-year-old mind who is very innocent, sexually. I don't think I had seen my first porn or masturbated yet at that point. And so it was a lot to take in. Um, Shortly after that, there was gay porn and catfishing things online my mom introduced me to, but there's all kinds of different stuff on that. Like, I remember seeing the porn and then there was gay porn, and I questioned, why were these guys having sex with each other? Because I was totally naive on that, didn't understand what I was watching. And, my mom was like, well, that's what they do, and she always wanted to be a man. Then, I didn't know much about homosexuality at the time. And so I was like, okay, you want to be a man, so then I thought, do you do this with dad? Like, after I realized what dildos and stuff were, and as my concepts in sex grew, and I often wondered if my mother did my dad in the butt because she wanted to be a guy. I don't know. Here's where you do not have these conversations with your children. It really messes with their head. I'm telling you. I have all kinds of questions and pictures in my head that don't need to be there about my parents. Do not traumatize your children with this stuff, okay? But because my mother had mentioned this to me once, it was after my first divorce, but before my second marriage, I had a fiance in between. And sex was a huge part of our relationship. And he always kept saying he wanted to be a porn star. And I was like, well, I don't care. If you are, good for you. Just wear a condom is what I thought at the time. time. Now that's naive too, because of course they're not going to, you can make porn wearing condoms, but you kind of get blacklisted. So, and now that was something I wasn't thinking about back at the time when I told him, sure, whatever, go ahead, be a porn star. You know? Um, but to introduce him to that lifestyle, we had a conversation. I said, well, why don't we join a swingers club? I thought, oh my gosh, my mom would be so proud of me that I joined a swingers club. Dumb, right? Because what ended up happening is my mother hated me for it, and I think she just hated me because she was jealous. All honesty, jealous that she didn't get to do it, and it was something she wanted to do. But anyway, I was really stupid to think that my family was going to approve of this, all because they did stuff like this when I was a teenager. So, well, yeah, condemn me right away. Whatever, don't even care anymore. But so I found a swingers club, and in the club, I'll go into more of it in just a moment. We had to first fill out an application, so I filled that out for us. Then we had to have a phone interview, me and him, with the president of the club or the owner of the club or whoever started it, I think. And he explained why we wanted to be part of it. And then we were able to go to the club, and we had to do an orientation sit-down meeting, and got to kind of see what it was all about. Well, what this club did was they would rent out an entire hotel for the weekend. So usually it was once a month on a Saturday. You would go, and there would be like theme-based parties. So it was Halloween-based theme, whatever. You just kind of came as you were. Girls could come by themselves, but men had to be accompanied by a woman. Now keep in mind, if you just let men come by themselves, there were so many guys that were there that were just there with friends, and the girls would sit in the hotel room, and the guys would be out and about. It would have been all men. Hardly any women, trust me, if they didn't make that rule. And then girls could wear a bracelet that said they were bisexual, so they do girl on girl, but they did not do that for men. So there was no, it was a man needed to be with a woman, but women could be with men or other women. And then they had these different themes. So you had your hotel room that you had purchased, and you kept your door shut unless you wanted to have what's called open door sex. So you could, as a couple, have open door sex and let people come in and watch you. You could swap with other couples and have open door sex, or you could swap and just close door, on your own. There were different theme rooms there. You could learn different stuff. So there was a full orgy room. There was like a BDSM room where somebody would teach, some things of that, or if you wanted to participate in that. So there were different, themes you could participate in. There were condoms, jars of condoms in every room. So, there was safety first. It was always a big thing. And there was a bar where you got to kind of get to know people, and typical pool, darts, sitting at the bar, music. There was an open pool where you could swim naked, if you wanted to. So it was a very open, inviting atmosphere where everybody just got to kind of be comfortable with each other. And I liked it, so we went back after the first time. Ended up meeting a younger couple. So, well, when we first went, there was this really young girl that she was a little bit of a bigger girl, but she was just enamored with me. She was like, oh my gosh, she goes, I want to have my first girl on girl experience with you. And I was like, well, I dabbled in it a little bit, but, it was usually when there was a threesome or something. It wasn't ever me and just another girl. I said, well, maybe. She had a very pretty face. I said, well, we'll see sometime maybe. So we got to know each other a little bit. And then there was this other younger couple. And my fiance was really hip on this girl. He goes, so what do you think of them? And I was like, well, yeah, I would swap with them. I mean, the guy looked like, I wish I knew his name. He looked like a movie star. The guy from Scream and Scooby-Doo. He played Shaggy in Scooby-Doo, and he was one of the killers at the end of Scream. He looked just like that guy. I was like, yeah, I would do that. So my fiance propositioned this girl and told me, he says, you got to come up here and talk to her. So she wanted to talk to me, and I was like, fine. So I went up there and I started talking to her, and she's like, she was really drunk, super, super drunk. And I was like, so do you guys want to hook up and get together? And she's like, no. She goes, here's the deal. She goes, I don't want to do anything with him. She goes, at all. She goes, but I'll have sex with you. It's like, well, that's not the deal. We're gonna swab. So we ended up not doing it, but she cut down my fiance so bad. It's kind of funny. Actually, he needed to be put in his place, to be honest with you. Because he went into this thinking, oh, he's the big stud and the one everyone's gonna want. Turned out it was me. Nobody wanted anything to do with him. Well, then eventually, like, I think on our third visit, we found a couple that was more our age. There was actually a couple couples, but there was one that we took numbers, and I'll get into that later. But this one couple that was maybe a little older than us, but about our age, wanted to swap, and she was decent looking. He was great looking, and so we went to their room, and we decided to do the open door sex situation. Well, I was totally fine with that. Little did I know that I was the one who was going to love being watched having sex. I did not know this up to this point. I felt like I was very conservative in a way. I mean, I had done the BDSM thing, so it wasn't like that, but actually having just strangers come into the room, people that I hadn't even talked to and maybe just saw walk by or something, just standing there watching you, that I would be nervous about that, because that would be almost like making porn, with cameras and people. Well, me and this guy start, and my fiance and the girl are on one bed, and she's giving him a blowjob. And me and the other guy were doing our thing, and all of a sudden we start, I'm on top, injuring him, and then this guy from behind taps me on the shoulder, and he says, can I join? I look at the guy I'm with, I go, well, can he join? So it's clearly going to be double penetration here or something. So then what we decided was, yeah, he could. So then I gave the first guy, I'm giving him a blowjob, and the other guy is doing me from behind. And I know this might be too graphic and too many details, but this is what happens in swingers clubs. I'm sorry. If you're interested in it, be prepared for this kind of stuff. This is what happens. This is the reality of it. And you can't be shy, okay? And so my fiance is across the room watching this as he's getting, his blowjob. And all of a sudden, next thing I know, he just walks out of the room. He grabs his stuff and he's leaving, and I'm like midway with two guys, like looking like, well, I'll keep going. I mean, what am I gonna do? I keep going, and all of a sudden, the guy's wife comes up and she goes, "You should probably go check on him. He started crying." And he was crying. She's like, "Yeah." She goes, "I'll take over for you." Talk about feeling like you are making porn. I mean, the substitute had to step in. I have to go take care of this crying man, apparently, who we were there so he could be a porn star, right? It had nothing to do with me. Okay, so I go back to the room. He's in the room and he is crying, sobbing, crying. I'm like, what is wrong with you? This is your dream come true. This is what you wanted. And I thought it was until I saw you with other men. He goes, I could not handle it. He goes, I couldn't sit there and watch you with these other men. You were enjoying yourself. I go, it's the whole point of it. Am I not supposed to enjoy it? I said, you were enjoying it, weren't you? He goes, well, until he realized I was okay with being with somebody else. And I go, I don't love them. I love you. We're here because I'm not going to take off with somebody else. We're here, so you can have public sex and see if you're okay with it. And so, after some conversation, eventually, I convinced him I need another beer, so I'm going to go down to the bar. And he seems sedate and okay with this, but doesn't want to go back to doing any sex stuff. I'm like, fine. While I'm down at the bar, this young girl that always wanted to be with me, not the couple, the girl who was by herself, propositions me, and I go, yeah, let's go up to your room, because I was horny. I wanted to have an orgasm. Keep in mind, I was a former sex addict, okay? So I'm like, yeah, we can probably do this quick within, 15, 20 minutes. I can get back to the room, right? So I go with her, and things go great. Everything goes fantastic. But then we lay there, and there's some cuddling. I'm cuddling her, and we fall asleep talking. Her friend comes in the room and wakes me up, and he goes, "Hey, your fiance's looking for you." I'm like, "Oh, shit." I grab my clothes. I'm not even dressed. I grab a towel. I grab my clothes. I'm walking through the hallway. People are just like, "Whoa, naked woman." And nobody's objecting to this, even though it was against the rules to do that in the hallways there. Nobody objected. Nobody complained. So it must have been okay. And I get to the room, and he's like all upset. And I go, "I'm sorry, I had sex with this girl," and blah blah blah. And then her friend come in the room. And they go, "Yeah, it was just me and her." And okay, so then we get everything calmed down. Me and him go to bed. We leave, and we were gonna go back one more time, but didn't make it back in there. What ended up happening though is we did have some phone numbers, so we did like meet up with another couple. We went to their place, and they had a jacuzzi, and so we did that, and then we swapped, there. So we did get to know some other people where we could swap privately, and that was okay for a while. But then everything just kind of fizzled out, and realized he probably wasn't going to be a porn star. And we ended up breaking up shortly after that, and it had nothing to do with having sex with other people. It was our relationship itself wasn't, I was not all that happy with the intimacy in our relationship, that it felt like it was lacking. um, After several conversations with that, he was just like, "Yeah, we shouldn't, this isn't working for either of us." And so we broke up. Now, irony, after we broke up, I was very brokenhearted, cried for weeks, had to get my own place in a strange town because I had moved several hours away to be with him. Well, I ended up going to this birthday party for one of my coworkers, and at this birthday party, it was held at a gay bar, and they were the best dance clubs in the world. It was a bigger city. So we were just having the time of our life, and all of a sudden I see this younger couple. Remember the guy who I said looked like the movie star? I see them there. And little did I know that they were both bisexual, right? So the guy was hooking up with this other guy, and the girl sees me, and we start talking, and she goes, "Do you want to hook up, me and you?" And I'm like, he's gonna be with him, I'll be with you, let's do this. So we go back to my place, of all things, and yeah, me and her hooked up, and him and the guy hooked up, and then they went home. And I thought, "Oh, what are the odds of that?" And me and her did eventually get to hook up. Now, since all of this, so that's my swingers adventure, and the most recent guy friend that I was friends with benefits with for a while, um, who turned out to be kind of a douchebag scumbucket. I mean, what happened was that as I got to know him, I realized he really wasn't being a friend to me. We were having random sex. Learned a lot more about him to the point where he doesn't even turn me on anymore, and I don't even know if I'm gonna still be his friend, because some of the things I've learned, I don't think this is a very good person anymore. You know, but once the true colors started showing, I'm like, you're not really a good person, and I don't. I would rather be alone and have no friends than even be a friends with benefit with somebody who I think is lacking some integrity in their life. So, but we were talking about, when he's in the middle of a divorce, and when his divorce was finalized, getting into a swingers thing, and I thought that's fine because he's not my boyfriend or anything. We're just friends, and that sometimes have sex, but I don't even think we're gonna do that anymore. At least not in my book. But that whole, it made me really think about the swingers thing again, and like I don't know, I don't go to church anymore, and there is a church video coming out that will explain to you why. I will probably never go to another church ever again for the rest of my life, because this was I thought previous churches where I didn't want to go to this one. Yeah, no, this was the worst betrayal of my life. Um, church people, I can't do it. I'd rather be alone and die and go be with God than to be with church people. I'm sorry if you're a church person. I'm really sorry. But I have been tortured by church people. And I'm just not, I'm an honest, forthright person. And I'm owning my crap. Because the truth is most important. And what we learn from God is the truth. And my truth, comes with learning lessons for me, and if somebody else can learn from it, great. But I'm not going to not own my truth anymore. I want my integrity and my morals back, and in order to get there, I have to own my crap. And part of it was, with the swingers. Now, I'm not saying that it's right or it's wrong. That's not for me to judge, because there is monogamy in these relationships. They are loyal to each other. They're faithful. They're not looking at breaking up their marriage to go be with somebody they meet at a swingers club. This is just a little sideline excitement to reactivate the sex life. I've just kind of learned that there's a lot of other ways to do it besides doing that, involving other people in your relationship. And I probably won't again. Like I've said in the beginning, never say never. You never know what's going to happen. The swingers club I was a part of they were fantastic, wonderful people. I wouldn't say that anybody there was bad. I mean, these weren't terrible people. They were nice. They did have some integrity and morals. This was just something they used to spice up their sex life, and I made some great friends during the time I was there. Choose what you will. I will not judge you on this. I really won't, because it's not like it's cheating. It's not cheating if both of you are in agreement and you're both getting something out of it. So I really don't know how God really would label that. But I did find 3 things in the Bible that I wanted to attach to this. One is from Jude chapter 1 verse 7. Just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding cities, which likewise indulged in sexual immorality and pursued unnatural desire, serve as an example of undergoing a punishment of eternal fire. So when I do think of the swingers, I do think a little Sodom and Gomorrah, and that kind of hits where it's like, yeah, we probably shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be doing that. I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. Okay? I shouldn't be doing that. Another one is from Romans chapter 12 verse 2, and it says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. And again, I think swingers is transforming to this world. I'm not completely through the Bible yet, so I'm not quite sure what it all says about it. For some odd reason, it just doesn't feel like God would want us to do that, want me to do that. And the last one is 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 8. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. So I guess if you want to look at the swinger lifestyle as love, the only thing is you can't love the other people that you're having sex with. It is just a sexual immorality, basically. You can love your partner, but you don't know the other person enough to love them. And overall, the whole scheme of things is as long as we have pure, true love in our hearts and good intentions, a lot of the sins we've committed, God can see past, because we've grown into a place of love. And therefore, love, I truly feel it is between 2 people. In my book, a man and a woman. I'm not going to, speak on anything else, because I have no right. It's not my life. But I would like to believe that true love can exist between a man and a woman, and you don't need all that extra stuff to make it something satisfying. So I don't know, hopefully someday somebody proves me right and I do have a true love. I'm not hopeful for it before my life ends, but we'll see. I mean, with God, everything is possible, right? Well, on that note, let me know your experiences, how they might have been similar or different with swingers clubs. And if you want to help the channel grow, like and subscribe, and it gets the videos out to more viewers. Okay, love you. Bye.